you do need the text this week in order to work on the assignments for this week. And the text is Microsoft Office 2016, step by step. And in particular, you will be referring to, in order to complete the assignments related to Chapter 2, your instructions will be on pages 63 through 65, I believe it is. And you will also have another assignment that you'll be working on creating a table, a schedule, and doing some things with the schedule. But we'll be walking through an introduction to Microsoft Word in various ways that we display Word. And so what I want you to do now is to, if you have Blackboard open, I need you to minimize your browser and instead click on the W in your dock, which it should start jumping up and down like a red box full of grasshoppers. And that will be Microsoft Word. So start Microsoft Word, and if it asks you to update, just click Cancel. If it's asking you to do something else, click. Oh, and it will open up to the templates. And leave it as it is right now. Templates are pre-formatted documents, or pre-formatted documents that can come in handy. Suppose you've got to do a real quick newsletter and you don't want to mess around with doing the layout. By using a template, you can have the layout done ahead of you. And then you just dump in text or graphics. So we all have it open to Microsoft Word, where it reads plus new over in the left margin. What I want you to do first is, it will say blank document and it will be highlighted. So one of the ways you start with to do a blank document is by clicking Create, and you have a blank document. Now, you'll note that some of you, your Word window will be somewhat minimized or shrunken. So a few things that you can do is that, for example, if it's really wide, suppose it opens up and it's only half screen. You can either move your mouse to the left or lower right, or the right, lower right, bottom, or left margin. And when you mouse over one of the margins, you'll see it turns into opposing arrows. And then when you hold the left mouse key down, you can stretch that document up or right or left. You also can move to the lower right or left corner of the document and shrink or expand the document. You can, by hitting the green jelly bean, kick back and forth between full screen, and then when you hit escape, it kicks you back out. You can minimize the window by hitting the yellow jelly bean, and it will do the genie effect on most computers and will drop it down into your dock. And then if you just click on that document, it reappears, and if you hit the red jelly bean, it closes the document. Now you'll note, in mine, there is a left margin and a blank page. They call that a thumbnail. And the way to get to that thumbnail, and later on, in about 3 weeks, when you're working on a really long document, we'll say it's about 60 pages long, that a real easy way to move back and forth in a document, instead of just going page down, page down, page down, page down, or holding the mouse down forever and dragging that darn thing, if you have thumbnails here, it makes it easier to click back and forth between documents. So for example, to get that to display, if I want to show thumbnails, I'll get rid of it first. So if I click View, and I go to Sidebar, because it's a sidebar, you'll see that it has Thumbnail there. If I have that unclicked, the thumbnail vanishes. If it's only a one-page document, I don't really need the thumbnail. But if I'm working on 5 or 6 pages, by having the thumbnails there, it allows me to have them in easy access. So I go back to Sidebar and I click Thumbnail. Wham! There it is. I know this is too much for one night, but it's going to get even better. All right, so now there are other things that we see. Other ways that we can view this document, and I want you to, for example, if you look to the lower left corner of the document, you'll see it says page 1 of 1. Well, there's only one page. So it shows 1 of 1. I haven't typed anything in yet, so it shows 0 words. All of you should have 0 words there. And if I go to the, so we're all looking down here, page 1 of 1. And you'll know if I click on page 1 of 1 that the icons above also change. And I can go back and forth on those too. Wham! Thumbnail. So all of these give me access to different tools and different views. Now, if I mouse over to the lower right and I let the mouse settle over the first icon on the left side of the lower right, you'll know that a little pop-up will come up that says Print Layout. All right, and this is the view that we have right now. If I mouse over just one, it will read Web Layout. If I mouse over just another, it will say Outline Layout. If I mouse over another, it will say Draft. Now what I want you to do is you're going to create a new file, but this time you're going to go to File, New from Template. So now it's going to take us back to the template window, and this only shows tip of the iceberg of all the templates that are available to you. And so suppose we want to create a flyer. This only has maybe 4 flyer templates available. However, if I click over in the Search All Templates box and I type in FLYER, all of a sudden I have more templates than I can shake a war club at. So type flyer and then you'll see they all appear. And what I want you to do is to click on the business flyer. And now when you click create, it has pre-generated format. All right, suppose you got to turn out a flyer really quickly. It's pre-generated. And all of these areas are clickable and editable. And what's wonderful about the new version of Word is that in all their templates, in the text parts, they tell you what that text can do rather than just giving you what they call Greeked-in text, which look like just a bunch of gibberish, but it's actually Latin. And but it would look like it made no sense. Now they actually give you little sets of instructions. Now each one of these areas, you know, now that I see the thumbnail looks like the actual document. And if I look down to the lower left, I see now it says page 1 of 1. And now I know there are 131 words on this flyer. This is a really important view because as professionals, when you are doing a resume, you're doing a proposal, or for that matter, as a student and you're applying for scholarship money, fellowship money, grants, and the like, very often institutions, organizations have parameters that you have to follow. In other words, they will tell you that your proposal for this exhibition should be no longer than 500 words. We have a scholarship here for, I think it's $5,000. And the terms of that scholarship say your scholarship letter or your scholarship entry can be no longer than 500 words. Last year, a guy typed one up with 510 words and submitted it. That cost him $5,000. When you are applying for jobs, fellowships, shows, work, the first thing that your employer looks at, can this person follow directions? Where do they think they ding you right away?
Word count.
word count. It's that picayune. Can you pay attention to fine details? So whenever you're doing scholarship, any type of applications, read the parameters. And if it tells you no more than X number of words, make sure you come in under those words. Because you will, in the business, we say you're 86th. 8, if you turn it sideways, means the infinity, means we will never see you again, forever. And 6 means deep sixth. Right? You have in essence been removed from the system forever. For 505 words when they ask for 500. So pay attention to parameters. And what Word does is it gives you a way to look at the parameters. Now, so you see it's got 131 words, and if I go over now, I'm back over to View, and notice what occurs because I'm in Print View now. When I mouse over Web Layout, it changes the way that page looks. If I'm over to Outline, what just happened?
No pictures.
There's no pictures. Outlines don't have pictures. They're just text. Or if I'm at Draft.
No pictures, but there's the subtitle, title.
Anywhere there's text is Draft Text. All right, so I'm going to go back to Print Layout. All of these areas are clickable and actionable. So if I click in Title now, it'll highlight, and I want you to type in My Business. And you're going to type in My Business. And you'll note that when I click in that box, in the styles, it says title. If I were to move over and I click in the subtitle box, you'll note that the style changes to subtitle. And within this document, any text I would want to have subtitle, if I click subtitle, it changes it. But I don't want subtitle. I want it to be normal text, or if I can't remember what I was doing, what is a 2-keystroke command I can use to undo the last thing I did? Command Z. So if I do Command Z, I now have the original text back.
Can't you do that arrow up there too?
I could do the backwards arrow, or to redo it, the front arrow. One of the things that I try to get people in the habit of doing is a combination of knowing keystrokes and mouse. Because if you use the mouse too long, we talked about this last week, you start to develop a syndrome called carpal tunnel syndrome from repetitive action, doing the same thing, mouse clicks all the time. Graphic designers get this a lot. So I try to get you in the habit of using keystroke commands and mouse commands, and that way you're always using your tendons in different ways. If I click now into subtitle, and that little text becomes active, and you'll note the subtitle style now becomes active, and I'm going to type in none of your business. If I click in, we'll say this is flyer text. And by the way, for a flyer, in a design sense, this has way too much stuff on it. What's a flyer supposed to do?
Convey a message quickly and easily.
Quickly, easily, and memorably. Right? And when you give people this much text, it's information overload for a flyer. So you want to be aware in design that you're using not only graphic, but textual elements to the best effect. So if I click into the body of the text now, and if I click normal, if I click in the body of the text and I click normal, you'll note that it hasn't changed. That's because, I'll go into that in a later time, but we'd have to actually reformat this so it would fit the normal text style. If I go to contact info and I click in telephone, I could take 1-800-666-6666. So I've done a little bit of editing on my flyer. What is the most important thing I should do next? Ideally, you do this within 1 minute after you've created the document.
Save it.
Save it. So I'm going to save it, and there are several different ways to save this document. But even before I do that, I want to make it so that in case I happen to drop off, which happens to be a lot, because I work really night, I have the curse of being an insomniac and an early riser. So very often I fall asleep and I'll wake up in the morning and you see all these Z's just stretching across the screen, like 800 pages of it, because I fell asleep and my hand was on the Z key, and it goes on and on and on. All right, but I want you all to look at Word, click on Word, and then scroll down to Preferences, and then scroll down to Save. This is an important command to know, which is Save Auto Recover Info. If it's not already set to 1 minute, do it at 1 minute. Because what this will do is every minute, whatever you are working on, the computer will automatically save it into a small part of memory. So if something happens, you have a power outage, you accidentally close the document, everything you've done up to the last 59 seconds will be saved. Actually, 59.99999999999999999 seconds. ... So you want to make sure that Save Auto Recover Info is for 1 minute. And that will make sure that if something happens and the computer shuts down, the next time you turn the computer on, it will actually come up and say, this document was saved. Do you want to save it as a different file name? Because what it's done is it recovered the last bit of work, and then you'll have to give it a new file name, but you won't have lost a 25-page document, for example, for not having saved it. So this does it for you. When you're working on Word Online, if you've got Office Online and you're working on it, it does it automatically for you too. You don't even need to set the parameter. It does it for you already in the cloud. But if you're working on a desktop, you want to make sure that you've got that parameter set. So we have that set. Now we go File. If I go to Save, I can choose where I want it to save. If I'm working on my own machine, this isn't my machine, so I don't have my my OneDrive account here, but I do have my Dropbox. So I can save it to Dropbox and save it in the cloud. On my own machine, I also have an iCloud drive, so I can save it to the iCloud. I save it redundantly now to the cloud. So I save it to OneDrive, I save to my Dropbox, and I save to iCloud. The same way I used to do flash drives, and then I'll often put a flash drive in there just in case the world blows up. Yes?
So for now, we're going to save it to the desktop and then put it in our cloud?
So now you're going to save it to the desktop.
Nothing's popping up on my...
We'll get there in just a second. Because if in the lower left-hand corner it says My Mac, let me just make sure what you're looking at here.
I have
Okay, if you click on My Mac, now if you click a drop down, it will show you different options.
So desktop, right?
Desktop.
Okay.
So it depends on the configuration. So I can click Desktop, I can click Documents, but I'm going to click Desktop. So now I've got it, so it'll save to the desktop. It's being saved as a Word document, and it's .docx, which tells me that this word processing document was created after the year 2007. And I'll go over why in just a moment. So now when I click Save, I've got my business saved to my desktop. Now, suppose I have done a lot of work on this document and I want to, sometimes when you're working really on long documents, like I'm writing a book, and sometimes I have gone in and I decided there was a certain part of a chapter I didn't like, and so I deleted the part I didn't like, and about 2 months later I had an epiphany that said, oh, shoot, I wish I hadn't deleted that. So when you're working on a document repetitively and it's a long one over time, it's a good idea to get into saving a document with a slightly different file name each time. So for example, if I go instead now and I go File, Save As, I'm going to, instead calling it My Business, I'm going to call it My Business 01. And then when I hit Return, I've already got it on there, so I'll replace it. The next time I work on it, so it's about 2 weeks later, File, Save As, and I'll instead save it as My Business 02. Or I could give it a date. But this is an easy way in the title.
It's not so big. Because if you save it big, then something bizarre happens, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, if you use really long file names, particularly in Word. Whereas if you're in Adobe Acrobat, you can get away with longer file names. So now I've saved it as a Microsoft Word document. But now, instead, in the Save As, by the way, I can also change the file name, but there's also the file format. Right now, it's a Word document, DOCX. I could, suppose the end user, I'm sending this document to someone whose word processor was Word 2004. It was still saving it as a .doc. So if I look at Word document and I click the drop down, Word 97 to 2004. That lets me know the end user that I'm sending it to has an old word processor. So now, if I were to save it, it would save it as a .doc rather than a .docx. So that person with the older computer would still be able to open and work with that document.
You want us to save that one?
I'm sorry?
You want us to save this one in the next 7
Now, don't bother saving it to that format. What it'll do, though, is it'll show you 2 copies of the same document, but they'll each have a different extension. You may, and we're not going to save as a web page, and it's not a good idea to save a Word document as a web page because you have to go, it's too much reformatting you have to do later with the hypertext markup language. However, I could save it as a template. Suppose I'm going to cancel this. I don't want any text at all. I want this to be completely open to my creativity anytime I create a new flyer. I could go File, Save as a Template. So it was a template originally. I've changed the template to suit my needs. So when I save as a template now, and you'll note the subdirectory reads templates, and the extension will be .docx, and I'm going to call it Dr. Chu's template.
That's really good for doing like club advertisements, organization advertisements, so that when you put all the images in, there's this,
It's all there ahead of time, and then you just dump in the text you need.
Yes.
So now when I click Save, it will save it as a template. Now, suppose I want to open the template. I go File, New from Template, and I got to scroll down. Do I have it down in here? It should be in Templates. I'll type in Search. Chu. Oh. Hold the applause till break. All right, but we now have the Dr. Chu template. So when I click on the Chu template and I click Create, wham! I know it slices, it dices, it makes mountains of coleslaw.
Documents.
Now, I'm going to go back to the question that you had asked earlier. Because suppose you want to send a flyer embedded in a message. So I'm going to close this template. I'm going to close that document, and I'm going to go back to the when I click File and I click Save As, not as a template, come on, cancel, Save As, I am going to click the drop down so it reads PDF. PDF stands for Portable Document Format, and there is only one program that natively creates PDFs. There are a lot of programs that will read it. Microsoft Word, Excel, a spitload. But only one will create them in a way that you can edit them easily. And what's that program?
Adobe Illustrator.
That will open it, but natively it's Adobe Acrobat. That's the one you create editable and multi-user. So Illustrator will save as, but Adobe Acrobat is the one you want to work with. So PDF, why would you want to create a PDF? But I want you all to do that now. You're going to save that document to your desktop as PDF.
Save it as a PDF?
Yep, save it as a PDF.
Or title it PDF?
No, save it as a PDF.
Okay.
And now when I minimize my window and I look at my icons on my desktop, the Mac will let you know this is a DOCX, DOCX, PDF, PDF. It tells me what kind of document it is. Why would you want to have a PDF?
You can't alter it. Nobody can alter it.
The end user cannot alter it unless they have permission to. So you can grant permissions in the creation for the end user to be able to alter it or to enter information onto it. Perhaps when you applied to IIA, you might have actually had an editable PDF. All you could do was type in certain information, but the titles and the like stayed the same. So it said first name, you could type in first name, last name, you could type in last name, but you couldn't actually edit the document itself. There's a reason why you want to be able to have that type of control, that kind of limited access. What might one reason be?
Copyright reasons?
Copyright reasons. Why else? Suppose you have a contract. You're going to put in a sculpture down at the Inn at Loretto of some Native American saint who's a Mohawk that they dressed up as a Pueblo woman. That's at actually, I think it's at St. Francis where that one is. And you're going to get paid $300,000 for that sculpture. So you send out the contract, and you've got it signed digitally, and you haven't put the block on it, and that person, or you've sent it as a Word document, and the person at the other end just decides, oh, they're going to accidentally delete a zero. Your $300,000 just turned into
30,000?
$30,000. Or if they're a little more excited, $3,000 or maybe $30. And you've already digitally signed it. Now, if you have the original on your computer, you could take them to court. But you don't want people altering the terms of a contract, for example. That's why you have PDF that can only be edited by the creators or end users that have the credentials to be able to do so. So that's how you save as a PDF. Now that PDF then, when you're in your email, you can drag that PDF off of your desktop and drag it right into that email, and then you're sending that PDF to someone. That's how you've been able to do that with a flyer.
So it doesn't send it as a PDF, it sends it as an image in the
Essentially,
body,
yeah.
in the body of the email, right? Okay.
So I'm going to add water again to Microsoft Word. Now, other things that you can do. For example, when I click on an image, I could drag an image that I have in my my photos, and I could drop it right into that box, and it will add that image to that box. I could also, by looking at the little dragger handles at the side, if I mouse over and hold the left mouse key down, I can proportionally shrink or expand the image, or disproportionately shrink or expand. If it's clicked, I could delete it.
What did you say you held down in order to keep it in proportion besides?
I just held the left mouse key down and dragged it from a corner rather than an edge.
Instead of holding down control, right?
Right. I just hold the mouse down
Okay.
and it does it. And you'll note as I drag it, it actually will give me the dimensions of that image on the page. I also, by clicking on the rotation, sometimes visually that's a fun effect. But watch what happens when I do that. It automatically dropped the text that was in the space below onto the page below because there wasn't enough room to hold the image and the text. Now I could, and that will do this when we do a newsletter, or not a newsletter, a brochure. We'll look at text wrap as a function that allows us to actually have the text wrap around this image in a way that looks graphically appealing. All right, so I've turned that, and sometimes you can do it with text too. But suppose I decide I didn't like that look, I just Command Z, and there I am again. All the text, all the images are clickable and editable. You can drag them from your flash drive, you can drag them from the cloud and insert text as well as images into it. You can change the view. So what I'm going to have you do now is you're going to go File, make sure you've saved. So you should have this saved to your desktop as a .doc, as a PDF. Now you're going to go File, Save As, and you're going to save it to the desktop, and you're going to save it as a template. Word template. It's going to have the same title, and then you're going to click Save. So you have 3 different file formats, and then you are going to close Microsoft Word. So if you just Word, quit Word, or Command Q. Try a 2-keystroke command. Command Q. That will quit Word. It will also quit Excel or PowerPoint. So it will quit any of the Microsoft suite of programs.